Today I have another piano fun fact involving Theodore Leschetizky, one of the most sought-after piano teachers of the 19th century. Without doubt, he is arguably one of the greatest piano teachers ever. I have a feeling I'll be telling even more stories about Leschetizky because there just are so many funny and touching stories about this man, who really clearly was an amiable person, a good and caring friend. He even gave up some concerts to help tend to a sick friend. He loved animals, he loved picnics, he was a wordsmith, just incredible way of using language to communicate himself. Incredible understanding of the piano and of tone production at the instrument, on and on and on. He liked picnics, and even I read that as a boy, at age 7, he was reading Goethe. Imagine that. No Captain Underpants there. Our story today comes from a book that I've mentioned before in one of my videos, and it is called Theodore Leschetizky, An Intimate Study of the Man and the Musician, and it was written by the Countess Angel Potowska, who was a sister-in-law of Leschetizky. Now, our story today involves a hat and an orange. Now, the story takes place in 1852. Having been born in 1830, Leschetizky was still a young man. He was just in his early 20s when he made his way to St. Petersburg in Russia. And he was getting the chance to meet some pretty important people, princesses and countesses. For example, there was the Countess Kalergio, who had studied piano with not only Frédéric Chopin, but also Franz Liszt. Those were her two teachers, Chopin and Liszt. It's no wonder that Leschetizky couldn't wait to hear her perform. And he remarks that she wore these long gloves, which she peeled off before she played at the piano. And she played very well, of course. After she played, it was Leschetizky's turn to play. And the Countess offered up some famous melodies for Leschetizky to improvise upon. So he did that, and then he played some other pieces as well. And when it was done, the Countess asked if one day Leschetizky might compose a piece and dedicate it to her. And of course he agreed, and being the gentlemanly, chivalrous man that he was apparently known to be, we hear these kinds of stories throughout all these various books about him. He remarked something to the tune of, yes, Countess, I will dedicate a future piece for you, and it will be a piece that for me is much too difficult to play, and that only you will be able to play well. So such a charmer, such a flatterer. No wonder he was so liked, and there are so many good stories about him. He also, on this trip to St. Petersburg, had an opportunity to meet the Count Nesselrode, who was a Russian diplomat, and this man had known Napoleon. So he was, a little bit older when Leschetizky met him, but that impression was a powerful one. And amongst the other members of the nobility that Leschetizky got to meet, there was Baron Alexander von Stieglitz. I had heard this name before. Von Stieglitz, Baron von Stieglitz. He was a Russian financier, apparently, and he was born in 1814. Baron von Stieglitz. Now, he had a daughter who would have been about 15 years old at this time. And Leschetizky had given a concert in St. Petersburg. That went very well. He was asked to give some more concerts, and in fact, people were starting to ask to have lessons with him. He was making quite a little career for himself. And Baron von Stieglitz's daughter was one of his students. Now, the daughter apparently was known for giving her teacher a piece of fruit or a sweet meat, as they call it. I guess she really liked Leschetizky, her teacher. And he was still a young man, too, so they would have been fairly close in age. Perhaps she liked him romantically, too. But in any case, she gave him a piece of fruit. She gave him an orange. And on this particular day, he leaves the piano lesson at their house of Baron von Stieglitz, and he is walking on the street with his hat on, and the orange has now been placed in a pocket. And Leschetizky happens to be reminded that, oh, I've got this orange in my pocket. I better do something with that because it's kind of lumpy and that doesn't look good. So he takes the orange out of his pocket and he begins peeling the orange. And at one point, he turns around and he sees on their balcony the daughter who had just had the lesson with her mother, and they're on their balcony, and they see Leschetizky and they wave to him. And being the gentleman that he was, apparently, according to all these stories, he takes his hat off. So in one hand, he has his hat, which in my case is a Donegal tweed hat, Sherlock Holmes hat from Ireland. So he takes his hat off. He's got that in one hand, and having just peeled the orange, he has in his other hand the orange peel. So what does he do? He doesn't put his hat back on his head and throw the peel into the forest or into the nearby Neva, but accidentally, in a little bit of a blunder, perhaps bewildered by being caught off guard, he mistakenly throws his hat into the Neva River and places the orange peel on his head. This is an incredible story from about one of the most important piano teachers of all time. So next time you're in the grocery store and you're buying your fruit and you see an orange, you will hopefully not only remember about good hand position, but also of the young Theodore Leschetizky starting out on his career as a piano teacher and gentleman. That's my piano fun fact for today.